So let's make sure we have an understanding about these contracts, right? And you're going to see this. This is your contract. You'll notice that I've left some information out because some of this information is what I'm looking for you to contemplate. Right? It's interesting. Try to figure out who are the counterparties to some of these forward contracts. And if you fill this in, a lot of this information may change. So don't be fooled by this additional information and thinking that it's only going to be the US company. You have to think through this. Where should these contracts actually exist within the multinational organization? So I basically took the forward interest rate swap contract, and I tried to utilize some of the ideas around a forward foreign exchange agreement and use some of the language in our swap contract in this forward exchange agreement. So you're going to see a lot of the similar types of things. Who's the issuer? Who's the purchaser? We're talking about the issuer and the purchaser of this contract, not the issuer or the purchaser of the currency. So you have to be careful with that, because that's going to get you confused sometimes, right? It's the issuer of this contract and the purchaser of this contract. When dealing with the forward interest rate swap agreement, that question came up a few times. So just remember, this is the purchaser and the issuer of this contract. What the responsibilities of the purchaser are in the contract may be to purchase or sell something. So just be aware of that. Different interpretations. We've seen this. The effective date. Definitions. Pay close attention to the definitions, what that means. And of course, you know I like Schedule A. And so when we're looking for variables, we can always go right to Schedule A, but you want to make sure you're paying attention to all of these items, all of these definitions, because it gives a little bit more detail. Initial compensation, that's always good to see. And all sorts of interesting things, governing law, etc., etc. And then we get to Schedule A. And now this is where all the good stuff is. And your goal is to take this information that's in the contract and just think about, well, what's this going to do? How am I going to figure out fair value? I don't care what the fair value is, but I at least want you to be thinking that maybe if we took this information from Schedule A, we might be able to discern that we might have gains and losses that come from this particular contract. And then the question is, what do you do with those gains and losses? Don't care what the gains and losses are. I just want you to be thinking about, well, how would I use that little calculator, that little model that I created, and then read this contract and just get a feel for whether or not I'm in a gain or if I'm in a loss position. And that very much depends on whether this is a sale type contract where I'm going to sell the currency, or if this is a purchase type contract where I'm going to purchase the currency. These are things to think about as you're trying to solve the next assignment.